Cavite Congressman Elpidio Barzaga.
DZRJ now brings you an interview with one of our newsmakers.
Hi, sir. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
How are you, Congressman?
Yes, good afternoon.
Yes, sir. This is Triccia. You're now on air. How are you today, sir? Did you hear that news, sir, that I just read, sir? You just, the committee on, the House Committee on Justice has just had an ocular inspection and the continuation of your hearing about the many issues and scams and scandals at the Bureau of Corrections. Can you, sir, give us a synthesis of what happened in your hearing, sir, early this morning?
Yes, we were there at the National Beleated Prison this morning, and of course we conducted the ocular inspection.
So,
The rooms, private bathrooms, some even have anterooms, and the basic necessities such as television are also present, television sets and DVD. And I think this is not in accordance with the school that prisoners should be treated equally. And there was even an addition made by Superintendent Reyes that really, insofar as the inmates are concerned, they have double standards. Those inmates who are rich can ask for these special accommodations as long as they have demand to spend for the renovation of their rooms. And I think that policy is totally wrong.
So have you found out, sir, that this has been happening even during the time of a resigned Bucor Director Ernesto Diokno, sir?
Well, actually, based on the statements given by them, this has been the practice for a very long period of time, and that practice continues regardless of whoever is the Bureau of Correctional Director.
Okay, so what is now where does the House legislation come in now after all these scams and scandals and all these irregularities and corruption that you have found out at the Bureau of Corrections?
Well, of course, we have to address these basic problems. And one of the proposals being entertained right now by the members of the Committee on Justice is to decentralize our the penitentiary. Because right now, the main penitentiary is the new Beleated prison, which is in Muntinlupa. And it would be really very hard to control or to impose regulations or to effectively carry out all the necessary orders if there are so many inmates with less personnel. So I think the proposal of having it decentralized would be a little bit practical, not to mention that this would be accepted by the families of the inmates, because inmates right now, whose families are from Visayas and Mindanao, it would be very costly on their part to travel to Muntinlupa in order to visit their loved ones in the penitentiary.
Okay. So what about, I understand that there is also a proposal to privatize the management of penal colonies. How will that be, sir?
We can also consider that proposal.
Is that part of
when we look at it, there are so many irregularities insofar as the management is concerned. Well, of course, one of the complaints would be insofar as the food is concerned. Although the budget is 50 pesos for one day, of course, we know for a fact na this food is not even, the food being rationed is not worth this sum of 50 pesos. Considering that there are allegations that there are corruption insofar as the food allowance is concerned. And the food allowance would amount to roughly 1.6 million daily.
Okay. So that's quite a big amount of money, sir, no? But anyway, so after your ocular inspection, will there be another set of hearings to come? Because tomorrow, I understand, you will be adjourning sine die of your Congress session.
Although we will be adjourning tomorrow, it does not necessarily mean that the committee could no longer meet. As a matter of fact, there was a suggestion at this morning's hearing that we should have an executive session in order that the inmates could freely speak. Because the inmates there, our apprehension is that the inmates could not speak openly in as much as the prison guards are present.
Okay. So, but sir, what happens now to those inmates who were relocated for cases of because there are gangs, no? There are gangs that I understand operate wherein they bribe officials of Bucor allegedly in order that their opponent group of inmates would have to be relocated in another penal colony.
Well, that information is also very shocking, considering that information came no less than from the Secretary of Justice, and we assume that the Secretary of Justice would not make such a statement until and unless she has some evidence in her favor, and therefore the Secretary of Justice has to look closely to that and file the appropriate cases with the aid of the National Bureau of Investigation.
Okay, so the proposal of decentralization of functions, no, and of government power will now be assigned or will now be at the table of the Justice Secretary. So it's not anymore on the hand of the Justice Committee. Is that correct to say, sir?
No. What we are proposing is that we have to make improvements for the necessary legislation insofar as to improve the present legislation pertaining to prisons. Right now, one of the proposals is to decentralize the prison system, meaning to say that we could have prison in every region, or in Visayas, in Mindanao, or as well as in Luzon, or even in every province. So that it would be easier to regulate them, to impose the necessary regulations, and make it easier on the part of the families of the inmates to visit them.
Okay, sir. When will you be wrapping up your investigation on this? Of course, no, you are already planning out your specific legislation to address these Bucor problems and scandals. So when will the House Justice Committee be wrapping up the hearing on this particular case, sir?
Well, I think we would be able to wrap it right before the SONA, assuming that we shall be having hearings in the month of July and in the remaining weeks of June.
So by this time, you will also be able to file a legislative measure on this?
Yes, definitely.
All right. Thank you very much, Congressman, for joining us in this program.
Okay, thank you very much also.
So that was Cavite Congressman Elpidio Barzaga.